Sam, just one burning question for me. Having been a principal and a school leader in a remote school, and having seen lots of principals come and go, what's important about leadership in a remote community school?
Something I met Jeffrey Blige, who's the American ambassador to Australia, and he said that working in the White House, the criteria for that was not who's the smartest, but who can make good decisions most of the time on very little sleep. And that reminded me very much of being a remote principal. And so I think resilience and being very clear about your purpose and the decisions that you're going to be making and the reason for them and what informs them, being very clear and resilient in that sense is important, because there are some very testing and trying and exhausting things along the way. And there are plenty of principals who, however you want to put it, whether you want to call it losing the plot or wearing out, or whatever, just don't find that sense of resilience. So being very clear about what you're doing and why is important, and being resilient in being generous and being clear about when to say yes and when to say no is important as well. I think being an educational leader in any school is a complex task, because there's aspects of teaching and learning that happens in schools that you need to really be on top of. There's managing finances, there's grounds, there's HR, there's working with the community, and then when you're a remote principal, there's the added degree of difficulty of remoteness, and then of course working in remote education, you're in a completely unfamiliar cultural and linguistic context. And I kind of feel that's one of the most difficult things, is that you have no life experience and no rudder to give you any inkling of what's going on around you. You're really disadvantaged because you don't know why people are doing certain things, and you don't know what to expect in the way people are going to respond or behave or be involved or not involved based on your read of the social and cultural context. And so I think needing cultural awareness and all that sort of stuff is really skin deep. I think remote educational leaders need to be complex thinkers. They need to be highly nuanced in their understanding of the intercultural space. Then they also need to be great educators and educational leaders and managers. And as they say, leadership is 80% about managing people, and that's critical. So you've got a very, very diverse and demanding skill set.
It sounds like you're looking for Superman.
Yeah.
And in the sense, you've described someone who's got an array of skills that is pretty amazing. What can an effective remote principal or school leader hope to achieve?
That's a very, very good question. What would they hope to achieve?
What have you seen in good remote school leaders that is demonstrated in their achievement?
I mentioned earlier about how critical the building of confidence is, and I want to talk a little bit about momentum here. I might go into a larger school in let's say a metropolitan space, and I might be asked to be a coordinator of a program, and there's a lot of established support in the school. There are cultural norms in the school. There are systems in the school that value add to what I want to do. And so, you can send out an email and you can give a talk at a staff meeting, and suddenly you've got parents there and you've got a bit of momentum, and you can feel like you're pretty wonderful. When you go to work in a remote community, because of the fact that often teachers aren't there a long time, there isn't necessarily a cultural norm about how the school works, because that's going to change every year or two. And so that building up the way things are that can value add to your ideas and your energies, it's not there. The community are always sitting there and waiting and to see if you're going to stay, and when they decide that you're all right, then they'll try and start to slowly understand what you're about and how they can engage with the social and cultural norms that you're going to introduce. And it probably all begins just to work by the time your expiry date's up, you're completely worn out and you're ready to leave. And so I think the things that really ring the bell, so to speak, that make remote educational leaders excited is when you see that momentum build up, and when you see a group of young people getting together and making progress, and you know, to put it in a Pindara sense, you might say getting greedy for school and greedy for learning and really wholeheartedly taking it on. And
Are you talking there about the teaching staff getting greedy for learning, or the students themselves getting greedy for learning?
Well, it's probably both. And I think the teachers need to get creative and get excited and get passionate and get coordinated, and they need to couple all of that endeavour with the things that mean something to the community as well. When you do that, you'll start to find groups of learners really finding some momentum with the teachers about something. And you know, it might be young men and teenage boys re-engaging in school and really getting involved and doing some construction project together, or it could be a group of middle primary students who are just completely greedy for a literacy text, so that they're, you know, madly writing their own stories, and they're getting creative and they're reading them to their family at home, and they're getting interested in other books because you've lit a spark. And I think as a remote educational leader, they're the things that really get you excited. When you see a momentum and an excitement about learning that's really owned by the students, by the teachers, by the community, and when it all comes together, I think that's the thing that if you were to sit back and think about your time as a remote principal, for example, that's the stuff that you would feel that, you know, was the moments where you made a difference, for example.
Fantastic, thanks, Sam.